What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Dgotsauce back with another video. Today, you guys, if you know me, you guys know that I like to talk about world news, world topics, world events that's happening. And in this specific discussion, we have the Prime Minister of Israel and the Prime Minister of Barbados that had done a speech at one of their UN meetings. And very interesting words were said from off the Prime Minister of Barbados' side, to where she was saying pretty much that Netanyahu is using the Bible in the wrong way in this situation. Let's tune into the video and see what's going on out here in these streets.
As the book of Samuel says in the Bible, Netzach Israel lo yishaker. The eternity of Israel will not falter.
It is the same Bible that tells us in the stories of the Old Testament, much which has guided many people across this world. But when we turn from the Old Testament to the New Testament, it is Romans that says to us, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, not any country, not any human being. So that the Bible can't be used as a convenient aid when it suits us, and rejected when it doesn't. Mr. President, above all else, we need a global reset on peace. There needs to be global peace. And those of us who are old enough would have recognized that there are peaks and valleys as it relates to this issue of conflict. There are few areas where the world is more in need of the United Nations acting as the United Nations to secure the objectives of the Charter than in the area of peace and security. The silence that has engulfed Sudan is unacceptable and may well be rooted in the racism that the world still carries as a badge of honor from the victories of the last great war of the World War II. The actions in Myanmar cannot continue. Ukraine has sucked more oxygen out of the global community and the global financial system than any of us can appropriately accept at the very time when the world needs to be applying its resources and efforts to fight in the greatest crisis known to mankind. And the spread of the war from Gaza to the consequences in the West Bank to now clearly what is happening in Lebanon as we speak with Israel, all of these are but the tip of an iceberg of death, violence, and instability, and robs the global community of oxygen and resources at the very time when we need it most in a strategic way. We all know, as students of history, that even the longest war in history came to an end. These wars, yes, they too will come to an end. But the question is when and at what cost, and without much loss of life, with how many children not being able to be either given the chance to live or will now live with memories of war that will affect their every action for the next 60, 70, 80 years of their lives. Innocent people are paying the price with the one thing that is theirs to give, and they don't give it willingly. It is their life. Unless we address the root causes of these wars, one by one, and the manners in which they are being sustained and financed, we will never know anything else other than war and rumors of war in these theaters. The transmittal of these scenes of horror in real time into people's bedrooms, into people's living rooms, will trigger two extreme reactions, neither of which are acceptable to us in the third decade of the 21st century. We will either get the desensitizing of ordinary people to the loss of lives, especially those of innocent children and women on the one hand, Or we will get, on the other hand, the anger and inclination for vengeance that it spawns necessarily. We need peace. And it cannot be too difficult for us to work for peace.
Before she continues, I'd like to say something on my end. I think it's very easy to say this. I think that's the politically correct way to say things. We need peace. The war needs to stop. Every war comes to an end. We all know this because, yes, every war has came to an end. But the difference between this war and a lot of wars, we'll just stick with Israel and Hamas. Israel's leaders will come up to you, come up to the UN, have a speech, talk to the people, show their face. Iran's leaders, on the other hand, will not. They don't care nothing about what the UN is talking about. They don't care nothing about what the US is talking about. They want to see Israel off the planet of the earth. So it's very easy to get up there and say, yes, we need to stop hurting people in Lebanon. We need to stop blowing up Gaza. When in a sense, Israel is fighting for its life also. And Israel is clearly connected with the U.S. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They're clearly connected to the U.S. They're clearly connected to NATO. So how are you going to tell them to not defend themselves and not protect themselves when they really, honestly, in a lot of people's eyes, did not actually cause this conflict? They're just responding off of it. Not only that, there are still hundreds of innocent Americans, Palestinians, Israelians, or Israelites that are being held hostage, being violently raped, violently beaten, killed, all types of stuff, being recorded on video, and you expect nobody to, you expect there to be peace. That's why I'm saying it's very easy to get up there and say this, because I know if she was in the position to where Barbados had to fight for their rights, which they did, because there is they had to fight for their rights against the British, I believe, and they have an independence because of that. There's a point in time where these people have to fight for their lives, and they have to combat this evil. They have no choice but to combat this evil. And I feel like that's the position that Israel is in. Now, when it comes to Ukraine, that's another war. That's a whole nother war. That's another story. But when it comes to Ukraine, I do feel a little bit different about Ukraine. I think that Ukraine should just talk it over with Russia. I feel like they could have had a deal done years before this even happened, because Ukraine is not going to beat Russia. Ukraine in no way, shape, or form is going to be able to get their stuff back without Russia already having it. There's no way. Ukraine can pretty much get wiped off the face of the planet too if Russia really wanted to. So that's another situation to say, we need peace, yes, but does Ukraine want to just bow down to Russia? And it's looking like no. They've all made that clear. They've all made that decision that they don't want a one-state society over there. They don't want to be Russia. They want to be their own country. And why would we fault them for wanting to be their own country? And then why would we fault them for trying to defend their country, defend their own culture, defend their own land? Why would we fault them for that? I don't blame them for defending themselves. Now, what I do blame is power. Power structure between certain people, certain countries are clearly one-sided. Russia and Ukraine, that's one-sided. Iran, Hamas, Houthis versus Israel, that's all one-sided. If it wasn't for the United States and the UN and NATO, these countries would have already lost by now. They would have already been wiped out. They would have already been taken over. Leaders would have been dead. And there's targets on these leaders' heads too, by the way. So that's just my thoughts, man. Let me continue on this video. Let me know y'all thoughts in the comments below also.
It is the same Bible that tells us in the stories of the Old Testament, much which has guided many people across this world. But when we turn from the Old Testament to the New Testament, it is Romans that says to us, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, not any country, not any human being. So that the Bible can't be used as a convenient aid when it suits us and rejected when it doesn't. In the midst of this maelstrom, we were very clear. My country took the step this year of recognizing and establishing diplomatic relations with the state of Palestine, in spite of having supported a two-state solution since 1969. And we did this because it is clear to us that the state and people of Palestine, human beings, are entitled to full recognition by integration into and support from the international community. The Charter does not say we the people, with the exception of any one group from any one part of the world. We join with others, therefore, in congratulating the state of Palestine in taking their seat among the United Nations member states as they did on the 10th of September of this year. And let me be clear, we condemn the actions of Hamas on October 7th. But we equally and strongly deplore the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, which is the result of the disproportionate use of force by Israel. There is no justification for it. And that is why treaties exist governing the rules of engagement for war. Because we as human beings learnt better and know better and committed to better. A two-state solution, no matter how elusive it may appear to be now, is the only answer. And I've said already this week that we have known difficult battles in mankind's history. But when we were in it, we didn't think we could achieve it, but we did. We abolished slavery. We removed apartheid in South Africa. These battles are not beyond our creativity, our capacity, and our resilience to resolve them. Similarly, we insist that the killing in Ukraine really has to stop. The people of Ukraine must be allowed to live within the internationally recognized boundaries of their state in peace and freedom from the threat of use or force. And as I said, it is sucking too much oxygen out of the global financial system, and countries that should be the beneficiary of aid are being told that they may have to wait in the interest of the defense of others because of war. I say to us truly, there has to be a singular commitment to build a peace. Truly. Mr. President, my own region has not escaped the scourge of instability and violence. The Americas do not constitute today a theater of war. But we are today witnessing, for some years now, an unprecedented escalation in the number and caliber of assault weapons which are finding themselves in the hands of criminals who are wreaking havoc on the legal systems and our societies, particularly in the small island developing states of the Caribbean and indeed in the wider states of Central and Latin America. This scourge caused by guns manufactured in the United States of America primarily also requires a fundamental reset. The right of persons to bear arms in countries not engaged in military conflict should not be an opening to accept as legitimate the presence of assault weapons in countries. It is simply not right. There is no place for assault weapons in our society.
They're not going to get rid of assault weapons, especially in the United States of America. It don't look like that is ever going to be a thing. I'll be honest with you. I live here, so I can see it on the ground floor. People love their weapons. People love to protect themselves if they have to. And although people don't want to see the mass shootings, they don't want to see school shootings. People nowadays can turn a pistol into an automatic assault weapon very quickly, very quickly. But like I said, man, I think that is very easy for everyone to get up there at the UN to say, we need peace, we need this, we need that. We got to condemn Israel and we got to condemn Hamas. But one thing that we will not ever see is an Iranian leader go up there and say, this is what we want. This is what we're going to do in order to get it. And this is what y'all can do to stop us from killing people also. Because it's not a one-sided thing. It's not just like Israel is over here just killing people randomly. Although some people might be random or innocent people that have suffered from the bombings that they have been doing. A lot of random and innocent people have also died because of the suffering and the bombing of what Hamas and Iran is doing. So it's super easy. It's very easy to come up there and say we need peace. But at the same time, I'm not saying we got to choose a side, but you kind of have to choose a side, because if you don't, you're either going to see the downfall of Israel, or you're going to see the rise. You're going to see the downfall of Ukraine, or you're going to see the rise of Ukraine. Which part of history are you trying to be on? Which part of history are you trying to be on? Are you just trying to be on the part of history that just, says Ukraine should bow down and just let Russia do as they wish? Or are you going to be on the part of history that says, you know what, we're going to back Ukraine, and Ukraine should have their own freedom, their own rights, their own voice, and their own country, and they should be allowed to defend themselves? Let me know y'all thoughts about this down in the comments below. I'd really like to know y'all thoughts. I really don't have anything bad to say, other than, it's very easy to get up there. Even for me, it's very easy for me to get up here and say, oh yeah, we need peace. We need to stop the innocent killing. But when it comes down to it, man, I'm looking at who are our allies. Are they really our allies? If they are our allies, we have to protect them. It's kind of that simple. There's no wishy-washy. There's no bouncing around. There are allies, but no. If they're our allies, we protect them. If they're not our allies, they're our enemy, in other words. So let me know y'all thoughts about this down in the comments below. I'd really like to know y'all thoughts. It's your boy Dgotsauce. Hit that like button if y'all are new. Hit that subscribe button too. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. Until next time. Peace.